A world of regions. Last week, we tackled about a world of regions. When you say regions, it is a group of countries located in geographically specified area. It talks about the geography that will focus on three fundamentals area, and that is physical geography, human geography, and the world geography. When we talk about the regions, it is also talk about the regionalization, which means it is the process of dividing an area into smaller segments called regions. Global divides the North and the South. Last week, we discussed about global divides, where global divides is about the different factors that affect improvements or advancement of different places all around the globe. When we say global divides, it is the global disparities primarily between developed and developing countries. In global divides, there are four world models: the first world, second world, third world, and lastly, the third world nations. The countries from first and second world is underdeveloped countries are what we call the global north, while the countries from the third world and the third world nations is under developing countries or what we call the global south. The global north and the global south will discuss Michelle and Fritz.
The global north and south divides. The global north. What is meant by global north? The concept of gap between the global north and global south in terms of development and wealth. These are the following countries that under the global north: America, Canada, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, and all the Western European nations including Russia. For example, Japan. Japan is one of the wealthiest country in the global north, which is they have technology advancement. So why global north is a wealthy country? The North is well ahead of the South because of economic growth and technological advancement. The Global North is comprised the developed countries.
Global South. So the Global South has traditionally been used to refer to underdeveloped or economically disadvantaged nations. So that means poor and developing countries. So these are the following countries that under the Global South. So Malaysia, Haiti, Lebanon, Chad, Brazil, Afghanistan, and Egypt. So these countries are left behind. Even access to basic social services is a matter of privilege. So many places remain stricken by underdevelopment and poverty and inequality. So why is the South is the poorest? Because the countries from the Global South lack the resources that they need to stop relying on fossil fuel for its economic growth.
So why did the North and South divide? That's because of the during and after Cold War. During the Cold War was a long period of tension between the democracies of the Western world and the communist countries of Eastern Europe. After the Cold War symbolized a victory of democracy and capitalism and gave a boost of the rising world powers and the United States, China, and India. So democracy became a manner of collective self-validation for countries hoping to gain international respect.
North and South divide. The concept of global North and global South is used to describe a grouping of countries along socio-economy and political characteristics. In North and South divides, there always are reasons for development a gap. There are many causes for these inequalities, including the availability of natural resources, different levels of health and education, the nature of countries' economy and its industrial sectors, international trading, policies and access to markets, how countries are governed, and international relationships. The North and South development gap in general. The concept of gap between the global and North and the global South in terms of development and wealth in the 1980s, the brand line was developed as a way of showing how the world was geographically split into relatively richer and poorer nations. And this is the classification of countries. The North is comprised of all first world countries and the most second world countries, while the South is comprised of his third world countries. This categorization ignores the geographic position of countries, with some countries in the southern hemisphere, such as Australia and New Zealand, being labeled as part of the North. So the North-South divide. The North-South divide can refer to different countries. Example, Belgium, China, Ireland, Italy, Korea, Taiwan, United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Wales, and United States and Vietnam.
My topic is all about Wealth Global North. Wealth Global North refers to developed societies and Europe and North America. Sila yung mayayaman na bansa, which are characterized with established wealth, technological advancement, political stability, zero population growth, and dominance of the world trade politics. The Global North have established wealth, technological advancement, and political stability. Konti lang ang kanilang population at kontrolado din nila ang world trade politics. Kung maganda ang government ng isang bansa, magkakaroon ng wealth at may posibilidad na yumaman. At the same time, meron silang access sa advancement of technology. Comparison. These are comparison between North and South is not of one aspect. It can be seen through different angles, that is, political, economy, and social. Number 1, political. Dito sa North, political, they are more external threat like bombing, widespread of terrorist activity in the worldwide. Example, attack on 9/11 London bombing. While sa South, the internal affairs of the nation reason is political struggle and corruption, of lack of respect for the rules of law, violation of human rights. Ito yung political system, major problem nila is corruption. Second, economy. Dito sa North, more on manufacturing but in a cheap labor. Sila yung nagtatrabaho ng very hard but mababa ang kanilang salary. While dito naman sa South, more on agriculture like cotton, tobacco, rice, and sugarcane, or industrial agriculture product. Third, social. Dito sa North, determined by life in the city. Both religion and education were organized. There were school and church, most in the town. College was reserved for the wealthy. While dito naman sa South, determined the upper class, plantation owners, and their family. Only children and plantation owners received any education. Small owners had no or had title or no education. The culture of the South revolves around plantation life. And now, we are going to different reason why our world is also unequal today. Number 1, colonialism. Today's North and South gap trace its root to the Southern World region by Europe over the past several countries. Isa sa mga factor na ito ay yung mga pananakop. We all know colonialization occurred at the different times of different parts of the world. Second, trade. What you are spending to bring goods into your country is greater sum than what you making by selling product into the global economy. Why Global South suffer from trading? Because of the lack of resources that they need to stop realigning of fossil fuel from economic growth, which lead to short-term and long-term problem, deprive them to opportunities to progress. And the third, debt or utang. Their product were losing money in the global economy, so they need to increase product. The only way they could do this as way to borrow money from richest northern country. That's why Global South put in the situation of debt or utang.
So now I will discuss about Asian regionalism. So what is Asian regionalism? Asian regionalism is the product of economic interaction, not political planning. As a result of successful, outward-oriented growth strategies, Asian economies have growth not only richer but also together. How does regional benefit Asia? Asia regionalism could bring huge benefits not just to Asia but to the world. It could help sustain the region's growth, underpin its stability, and with the right policies reduce inequality. So, underpin is like underpin to support, like example building or other structure by laying a solid foundation below ground level, or substituting stronger to weaker materials. Asian regionalism context and scope. In early stages of Asian economic take-off, regional integration proceeded slowly. Dito, dahan-dahang umunlad yung bawat bansa dahil sa pagtutulungan. East Asian economies in particular focus on exporting to developed country makers rather than selling to each other. Initially, they specialize in simple labor intensive manufacturers. Now, Asian economies are becoming closely and intertwined, not because the region's development strategy has changed but remains predominantly non-discriminatory and outward-oriented. Interdependence is defining because Asian economies have grown large and prosperous enough to become important to each other, and because their patterns of production increasingly depend on network that span several Asian economies and involve wide-ranging exchange of parts and components among them. Emerging Asian economies that had opened up their financial markets, like example Indonesia, the Republic of Korea, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Thailand, were worst hit, but nearly all Asian economies were eventually affected. Must then use the crisis as an opportunity to pursue wide-ranging reforms and finance, as well as in other areas of weakness that crisis exposed. Asian emerged with a greater appreciation of each shared interest and the value of regional cooperation, like yung sinabi ko kanina, yung pagtutulungan ng bawat bansa, like yung nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic hanggang ngayon, yung nagtutulungan yung bawat bansa upang makakuha ng bakuna. Then, since the crisis, Asia has become not only more integrated but also more willing to pull together. Asian growth and integration. Asian regionalism is emerging against the backdrop of the remarkable half-century of economic development. In the four decades from 1956 to 1996, East Asian living standards as measured by real implantation adjusted output per person rose at a rate faster than has ever been sustained anywhere else. Other Asian economies rank in the upper tiers of the world's growth distribution over those 4 decades living standards in the 16 integrating Asian economies. Analyzing this study grew at average of 5.0 a year while the world has whole average of 1.9.
Today, I will discuss to you about Asian regionalism in the world economy. In many Asian countries, the cycle of poverty has been broken. In others, this historic aims in sight. From the word poverty, kahirapan. There's so many problem in Asian country. Sobrang daming nahihirapang tao doon. One of the problem why ang economies nila hindi nag-i-increase because of the various factors like urbanization, population growing, a decrease in agricultural land, and poor policy making. That's the reason why Asian countries poverty but nasisira ang country nila because of that problem of issue. Asia's extraordinary success has brought new challenges. While rapid economic growth remains a priority, citizens demand that it also be sustainable and more exclusive. Ba't kaya ang Asia extraordinary success sa mga new challenges, while ang rapid economic growth remains a priority? Asian's regionalism kasi is the product of economic interaction, not political planning. As a result of successful outward-oriented growing strategies, Asian economies have grown not only richer, but also closer together. While rapid economic, one of the most visible side effects of Asia's rapid has been environment damage. Reliance on fossil fuel has degraded air quality and ecosystem, reduced the supply of clean water, and created significant health hazards. The center of gravity of the global economy is shifting to Asia. The region's economy is already similar in size to those of Europe and North America, and its influence in the world continues to increase.
So, Mom, I will discuss the regionalism versus globalization. So, this topic is also relate to our topic, the Asian regionalism. So, regionalization is a process of dividing an area into a smaller segments called region. It's the division of area. Globalization is a process by which the people of the world are unified into a single society and function together. So, example, so basically, sabi nga natin sa globalization, there is a interconnectedness of people. Okay, there is interrelation, there is association. Another concept is regionalism. So, additional information again. Regionalization is the theory of practice of regional rather than central systems of administration of economic, cultural, or political affiliation. So, ito sa regionalism, their goal here is to increase their political power and influence in other region Okay, so instead of having centralized administration, dito sa regionalism, merong naka-designated heads sa bawat region. Okay? May naka-assignated head sa bawat region. We also have regionalization pala. When we say regionalization, in the division of nation into states or provinces. Okay? Why countries form regional organizations? Bakit nga ba? They form regional organization as a way of coping with the challenges of globalization. A product of economic interaction between Asian countries. Okay, so it is just not about political planning, but preferably it's an economic interactions between Asian countries. Okay, from the word Asia, we are mentioning or we are referring to a society or people from Asia. So, as a result of successful outward orientation growth strategies of these Asian countries, so Asian economies have grown not only richer but also close together. As it is believed, there is unity in diversity. Okay, when we say diversity, it means differences. Okay, speaking of unity in diversity, example is the ASEAN or Association of Southeast Asian Nation. Okay? And we are considering, kinoconsider natin ang Asia, Asia. Okay, kinoconsider natin ang Asia the continent of diversity dahil mga tao sa Asia ay magkaiba ang mga kultura, tradisyon, relihiyon, paniniwala at iba pa. So, and what are the difference between globalization and regionalization? So let's try to compare globalization and regionalization in terms of nature. So in globalization, promotes integration of economies across states borders all around the world. In regionalization divides an area into smaller segments. As to market man, in globalization, allows many corporations to trade on international level. It allows free market. So what is free market? A free market is an economic system is which prices are determined by unrestricted competitions between privately owned business. While in generalization, monopolies are more likely to develop. So monopoly where there is a single seller in the market. Okay, so isa yung nagbebenta ng goods or services, there is no competition na nangyayari. So, okay. As to cultural and societal relation, in globalization, multiculturalism through free and inexpensive movement of people. So, what is multiculturalism? Multiculturalism is a view that culture, races, ethnicities, particularly those of minority groups, deserves special acknowledgement of their differences within a dominant political culture. Okay. So, in opposite naman sa regionalization, they don't acknowledge multiculturalism. Okay. Aids in globalization. Okay, in aid, international communities are more willing to aid countries stricken by disaster. So dito sa globalization, they're willing to help to give financial sa mga tama ng mga disasters in globalization. So in regionalization, regionalized area does not get involved in the affairs of the other areas. So, how about sa kanilang technological advances in globalization? Globalization has driven great advances in technology. So, advanced technology is really this is in regionalization. So, advanced technology is rarely available in one country or regions. Okay, that's all. Thank you.